I want to wish all of you a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining us from around the world. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time for this overview webinar for the Wharton School's upcoming online program, Product Management and Strategy Frameworks for Success. We are so thrilled to have all of you here with us today. It's now my pleasure to introduce our amazing speaker who's on the line with us today, our program leader for this cohort. Anna Fountain is here with us today. No one better in the world to be talking about this program. So Anna, thank you so much for being here today. Good morning.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me, Mark.
So the first question is, why learn product management and strategy through Wharton Online? Well, in short, Wharton Online through the Wharton School. The Wharton School is not only one of the best business schools in the world, it also happens to be the oldest, founded in 1881 as the first business school attached to a college or university. The Wharton School, which is part of the famed Ivy League University of Pennsylvania, is recognized all around the world for its intellectual leadership and ongoing innovation across every major discipline of business education. Priding itself on having one of the most published faculties of any business school, its broad global community is creating economic and social value all around the world. At any given time, the Wharton School has about 5,000 on-campus students spread throughout its undergrad, MBA, executive MBA, and doctoral programs, more than 13,000 participants in their executive education programs, and almost 100,000 alumni spread out throughout the world. And because of Wharton Online's diversity of programming with more than 50 online programs for which to choose, more than 3 million adult learners just like you all around the world have access to Wharton Online programming taught by Wharton's incredible world-class faculty. And to really capture the spirit of Wharton, there's no better way to do that than to hear a quote directly from our dean, Dean Erica James, who took over as the dean of the Wharton School just a couple years ago. She just celebrated her 2-year anniversary last month, back in July. And this quote really perfectly captures what we're trying to accomplish here at Wharton. Today's environment means you can't afford to simply respond to or manage change. The best businesses must anticipate change and even intentionally create change so as not to become complacent. And at Wharton, we are excited to be the partner to help you get there. So if you want to be able to anticipate change, if you want to intentionally create change, then you are in the right place. Now, who is this program for? Who did we build this program for? Well, if you're on this call today, we are pretty confident that we built this program for you if you're on this call today. But the product management and strategy program was particularly designed for these certain categories of professionals. So if any of these sounds like you, then you are absolutely in the right place. So if you are an early to mid-career product technology or marketing professional, and you're seeking to understand product management and strategy for building an effective product portfolio, then this program is for you. If you're a mid-level business or functional manager and you are part of a product's life cycle, either directly or indirectly, then this program is for you. If you're a consultant and you're looking to offer innovative products and solutions to your clients, then this program is for you. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to expand your organization by identifying new product development opportunities, then this program is for you. But also, if you are any C-suite or senior leader, executive vice president, CEO, COO, CTO, and you are involved at any point in a product's lifecycle from ideation to final launch, then this program is for you. And now that you know that this program is built for you, what are you going to be able to take away by the end of this program? Well, this program will enable you to analyze contemporary practices of product management and strategy. You will be able to use tools and techniques to conceive, build, and manage products and services over their life cycle. You will be able to understand how to develop and execute a go-to-market strategy for products. You will be able to learn how successful product managers apply design thinking, agile methods, and key business metrics to build an effective product portfolio. You will be able to evaluate the product management function within organizational practice, and you will gain the confidence and credibility to transition into a product management role. So this program truly provides a comprehensive overview of product management and strategy and will give you those frameworks for success that you need, not only in your present career, but also in your future careers. If you choose to transition into a product management role, or if you are touching a product at any point throughout its life cycle, then this program is for you. And there is no one better in the world to take us through this program overview, to go module by module, than our amazing program leader, Anna Fountain. So Anna, take it away.
Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for that introduction. Hopefully I'll do it justice. I'll tell you first a little bit about myself. My background is in mechanical engineering, which I studied at MIT. Then I worked in Deloitte Consulting for a while, which was really neat because I got to touch a lot of different industries, and I hope we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I hope to bring that experience to this course. And then I got my MBA from Wharton. I actually graduated last spring, and now I'm pursuing my master's in systems engineering. But what's most exciting about what I'm doing right now is actually teaching this course. I will be one of your program leaders for this cohort, and I think we'll have a really exciting time and learn a lot in this course. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of the overview here. So why is product management so important? So some important stats at the bottom of this slide. Obviously, the salary is growing, which is great information for all of you who might be interested in leaning in this direction. But also, there's a ton of new products coming out every year. If you look at that number, 30,000 new consumer packaged goods that launch each year. And that's just consumer packaged goods. If you think about software products and services that are coming out, I mean, that number is even higher. And it's a growing market. I mean, this is a skill set that will be ever useful and increasingly useful. And so what skill set are we talking about? We're talking about the ability to articulate a clear vision for your products. It's to communicate that vision to your team and to get buy-in so that you can develop it. And then also how to develop those in an increasingly agile environment. Like Dean James was talking about, this environment is increasingly changing and chaotic, and it really takes innovation to maintain that competitive edge. And that's the techniques we want to teach in this course. There'll be those cutting edge techniques. We'll talk a lot about different frameworks and how to implement them. And hopefully kind of when you leave this course, you feel like you have the skills to keep up with this agile, crazy environment that the world's been experiencing the past couple of years. So the other huge advantage of this course is the opportunity to learn from Professor Ulrich. So his bio is here, and I won't read it all because there's so much here that he's done recently and in his career. I'll talk a little bit about, he's a CIBC endowed professor. He was actually my professor for this course in my MBA program. And so he has a ton of experience. I mean, he literally wrote the textbook on this stuff. But most importantly, what I think is really incredible about him is he's such an engaging teacher. Every opportunity you have to listen to his way of thinking and the way he approaches problems, you'll get a lot out of. He approaches, it's the way it talks you through kind of his entire thought process. It really brings you along with him. And it's just an incredible experience. I mean, there's no better teacher for this course than Professor Ulrich. So now I'll dive a little bit into the modules each week. And so we'll start with module 1. So module 1 is your introduction to product management and strategy. So what it sounds like, we'll kind of introduce you to the key concepts that you'll learn and kind of build that baseline. Like Mark was saying, there's no prerequisites here. You can kind of come from whatever skill sets you have, and we'll build upon those. So what we'll talk about in this module specifically, we'll talk about the 3 different types of product managers and kind of different career paths for each of those types. We'll talk about what parts of the design lifecycle their different kind of skills are applicable for, and learn about the capabilities required for product management. We'll think about what you could be responsible for as a product manager, what different companies may consider product management, and how that role may change over time and over the life cycle of your product. It's really kind of the whole introduction to this field. And then in module 2, we'll build on that. We'll talk a little bit about design thinking, especially. What's really kind of interesting about the framework of this course is we talk a lot about kind of divergence and convergence. So what we'll do in the module 2 is we'll talk a lot about how to come up with, how to do interviews, how to observe your customers, how to perform those stakeholder interviews, what questions to ask, and how to get as much information as possible from your users. And then we'll talk about how to refine all of those observations, all of those notes, all of those answers into actual insights that you can use and you can build on. And it's a really incredibly useful skill set to use even in product management, but also just in any project you might tackle in your life. kind of this idea of observing and asking the right questions and setting the kind of getting you started on the right path in your product management career. Then in module 3, again, kind of that idea of convergence, divergence and convergence, I'll talk a lot about how to come up with concepts and how to generate those concepts. So a lot of brainstorming techniques, how to get unstuck. This is actually the module I think people really get a lot out of, because, you know, when you think about kind of trying to come up with ideas, a lot of times it's you come up with the first 5 or 6, but really the professor teaches you how to come up with, you know, 50 or 60. And it's a really valuable set of skills. And we talk a lot about brainstorming individually and some techniques you can use, brainstorming as a group and a team, and how to kind of get the best of both worlds through whatever method you're using. And especially, again, kind of on that convergence side, once you have all of those ideas, you know, 50, 60, 100, 200, we'll talk a lot about how to look at how do you evaluate them? How do you select from that 100 the really best idea or two? And then we'll talk a lot about how to test them. So you have your kind of what you think are the right ideas, 2 or 3 different ideas. How do you work with your users? How do you work with your potential customers to test out that ideas and make sure you're kind of on the right path? And really, how do you select that one really valuable product idea? Then in module 4, I really like the title for this one. It's creating the sizzle. What we'll do here is spend a lot of time on how do you refine that product idea. So you've gone through modules 1, 2, and 3. You have thought about how to come up with ideas. You've thought about how to select the best one. How do you refine that idea, and how do you communicate it to your team? How do you communicate it to your potential customers? How do you convince people that this is the idea that they should pursue? We'll talk a lot about kind of how design is applied in the idea of design, as abstract as it is, at different levels and different points in the product management lifecycle. And it's a really, really valuable skill set, because it's really what we're talking about here is communication and getting that buy-in. And it happens pretty much every day of your career. So it's a really useful module for basically everything I found. And then finally in modules 5 and 6, module 5, now you've refined your idea. It's, you know, you've gotten the team on board, you've convinced leadership at your firm. Now you have to actually develop it. And so what we spend in module 5 is spending the time on, it's called Agile Plus. So we'll talk about agile methodology. We'll talk about some of the more traditional methodologies. We'll talk about how the strengths and weaknesses of different approaches. Agile was born out of the software industry, and we'll talk a little bit about how it's applied there, but also how it can be applied increasingly in other industries. And if you may use Agile in the workplace, in which case, hopefully this module will help you build on those skills and formalize some of your thinking, and maybe contribute some frameworks that you haven't worked with before. And if you haven't experienced Agile at all, this should be a really great introduction. It's one of those methodologies that's become increasingly popular, and so you're likely to run into it at some point. And this will kind of teach you that methodology from getting it, you know, your refined idea to an actual product that you can sell, or a service you can offer. And which leads us to module 6, commercialization. This module is really valuable. We talk a lot about kind of what performance indicators you should be watching, what KPIs, key performance indicators you should be watching for your product. We talk a lot about the metrics that you should keep in mind and what you should be looking for in those metrics. How do you pick which ones to track? That all that data you want to gather, what is really most important for your specific product or service. We'll talk a lot about growth tactics. You have this idea, you're offering it, you've developed it, now you're offering it, you know, what's next? What's the kind of continued life cycle? Your job as a product manager isn't done just getting the product out there. It's really managing what happens once it's out in the world. And so we'll think a lot about kind of designing different dashboards that will help you track that. And kind of, I've maybe referenced it a little bit throughout these 6 modules, but one of the key parts of this course is we'll spend a little bit of time thinking about a specific focal product that you may have. It might be something you're working on or an idea you have, and take it through this whole process. So you'll really get to apply all of this to an idea. If it's really great practice, it really forces you to think through and apply all these techniques you're learning. And it's a really valuable experience. And finally, just a note, and I talked a little bit about this. My background is in consulting, and the professor does a great job of bringing in a ton of real industry examples. And with my background, I hope to bring in some more industry examples. But what's really cool about this course is the number of peers you will have in this cohort and the experiences they'll bring and the industries that they'll introduce to you. And so what's really engaging about this class is applying those frameworks across all sorts of different industries. So you'll have the examples from the professor, you'll have examples from my own experience, but you also have instances from industries across your entire cohort and the opportunity to kind of practice applying these frameworks to all of those examples. So I'll hand it back to Mark now to talk a little bit about the program experience.
So let me tell you a little bit more about your program experience. We've talked about the what is in this program, but let's talk about the how and what your experience will look like. Because, you know, there are so many programs out there. There are so many online learning opportunities that claim that they're special and they're unique. And then it's just a whole bunch of links to YouTube videos. So what makes this program experience unique? What makes this program special? Well, first, you will find that this really is a dynamic and engaging program. Our program leaders, Anna does a great job with this program, really giving you that fully supportive feeling. So our program leaders, in case we've mentioned program leaders a few times, in a traditional college environment, you're probably familiar with TAs or teaching assistants who are more hands-on and will give you feedback on assignments. And that's what our program leaders are. We have our amazing rockstar faculty, but then we also have our program leaders. And on top of that, we have a 24/7 program support that will help you with any technical or logistical problems you have. So the thing that you will most feel throughout this program is you will feel supported during this program. You will never feel like you're alone. You will never feel like that you're just kind of navigating this completely on your own. So these are just a few of the things we want to emphasize with your program experience. There are live sessions. You're going to be able to gauge your progress with live check-ins. You're going to have polls, seeing survey results on crucial issues, including the characteristics of a great concept. So you as a cohort will be interacting with each other. I believe there will also be moderated discussion boards in which you will be able to interact with each other, discussing topics at different times. You'll also have live office hours with Anna in which you can ask any questions and discuss the topics more in depth. Try it activities, being able to focus on real world scenarios, such as conducting customer interviews. And you're also going to be able to build what's called a focal product playbook, where you'll choose a product that's relevant to your real world circumstances. Doesn't need to be something that your company or your firm builds or sells, but just any product relevant to your real world circumstances, and then implement and assess product development strategies and techniques throughout the program. Also, something that's really unique to this program as well is Professor Ulrich, and Anna will be able to expound on this a little bit more, but Professor Ulrich has a podcast, so you'll be able to follow along and listen to content that's selected to align with specific modules, to be able to say like, okay, listen to this episode as we're going along. And before I move on, I don't want you to think I'm trying to avoid a tough conversation. Some of you, your eyes went right to the top right and you saw knowledge checks and you said, I don't like tests. I wasn't good at tests. I don't like quizzes. I don't like these knowledge checks. No. That's not what I'm looking for with an online learning program. Here's the thing. The knowledge check is not there to judge. The knowledge check is there because the entire point of all this content, all this real world material, these real world scenarios, is because we want you to be using this in your present and future careers. And we don't just want to be throwing a whole bunch of knowledge at you and a whole bunch of information at you like water out of a fire hose. And then we say, well, we hope you retained that. Moving on. We want you to have the confidence to know that you are retaining this information, you're processing it, you're digesting it, so that when you apply it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months down the road in your present and future careers, that it's there available for you. So we have these knowledge checks just to say, hey, we just learned all this information. Did you understand it? Did you process it? Are you holding on to it? And then with this knowledge check, you know for sure, yes, I have understood it. Yes, I am retaining it. Yes, I am digesting it, and I'm able to apply it to my present and future careers. That's all it is. The knowledge check is another form of support, another layer of support in this multi-layered, engaging, dynamic program. So every single week, what you can expect is a commitment of about 4 to 6 hours per week. Now, that is the range. That's not an average. So when I say 4 to 6 hours per week, I don't mean some students spend 2 hours and some students spend 10 hours. That's not what I mean. 4 to 6 hours per week is the full range of what our students invest in this program over the course of 6 weeks of content. You can see there that the real world applications are given to you through assignments, triad activities, podcasts, live sessions, polls, and knowledge checks. You're going to have frequent course communications with Anna throughout to guide you through the experience. But I also want to emphasize this top point, bite-sized learning. What does that mean? What that means is if I told you that you were going to take a traditional college course and it was 4 to 6 hours per week, you would assume that that would be either 2 hours 3 times a week or 3 hours 2 times a week. That's usually what a traditional college course would look like. But the whole point of online learning is that it is made to fit any schedule. So not all of us have 2 hours at a time. Not all of us have 3 hours at a time to devote to our learning. In fact, sometimes it can be a real struggle to even have an hour or 45 minutes that we can sit down and devote to our learning, especially those of us who have been trying to do learning while working from home, while we had children learning from home over the past 2.5 years. So we've broken this down so that all those online lectures, all those videos, they're all 5 or 7 minutes in length. So even if you're just commuting by train and you've got a 20-minute train commute, you can knock out 3 or 4 videos on the way to work, 3 or 4 videos on the way home from work. And then you've just in the course of 1 week, that's already 3 or 4 hours of videos that you've knocked out just by commuting by train. And then you can work on your assignments once you get home. So whatever your schedule is, the bite-sized learning means that we have broken down this course into the smallest possible pieces so that no matter what your schedule is, no matter where your flexibility is, no matter how you build 4 to 6 hours per week, we can accommodate that through this program. That is what that means. Now, upon successful completion of the program, you will receive a verified digital certificate from the Wharton School. You can put this on your resume. It's a great thing to be talking about in interviews. You never know. Like I said before, more than 3 million people have accessed Wharton online programming. So you never know. You might be in an interview and the person across the table from you has also taken a Wharton online program. They might have also taken this Wharton online program. And you'll find yourself with a common language, with a vernacular that you can interact with them with because you both have the same similar background and commitment to furthering your education as adult learners. But also, it's a great thing to put on your LinkedIn, put on your social media, especially on LinkedIn. We have a lot of students who put this on their LinkedIn, and that way they're able to connect with students from past cohorts and students from future cohorts as well. So you'll be able to find other students. So you won't just have this incredible networking opportunity and this real feeling of a classroom within your own cohort. This certificate will make it possible to connect to people from other cohorts of the same program as well. And you never know who you're going to meet and connect with thanks to this certificate. So a lot of our students really, really love this certificate as a networking and leveraging tool. So with that, program support is putting a link up in the chat box that you can click on to register for product management and strategy frameworks for success offered at the Wharton School. So click on that link, sign up for the next available cohort, which the next one is starting right around the corner. So click on that link, register for the next course. If you've got to jump on another call right now and you don't have time to register for this program right now, that's okay. Just click on the link and keep it open on your device, on your computer. If you're anything like me, your browser already has 50 tabs open. So go ahead, click on that link, make it the 51st tab open in your browser because I do not want you to miss the opportunity to join the next cohort. So please go ahead, click on that link, register for the next cohort of this program, Product Management and Strategy Frameworks for Success, offered through the Wharton School. And if at any time you have any additional questions whatsoever, you can always send them to wharton@emeritus.org. If you have any questions about tuition, logistics, anything like that, please send your questions to wharton@emeritus.org. First question, as a product analyst aspiring to become a full-time PM, I get a feedback of finding and building an influential voice. Do we have modules that help build that confidence?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a great question because I think it's really a big underlying part of product management is the confidence to communicate your vision. And so the awareness here is great. And I think the one answer I have is all of the modules will help a little bit, because building up your expertise and building up your kind of knowledge base will help you feel more confident in communicating your ideas and finding your voice as a manager. But more specifically, I think what is great about, I believe it's module 4, if I remember correctly, which the sizzle one, we talk a lot about how do you refine your vision, and most importantly, how do you communicate it, and how do you get the buy-in from your team. And so we'll talk about some great frameworks. There's the PRFAQ, which is a framework used by Amazon. We'll talk about some vision statements. And all of these are frameworks that will help you communicate your ideas in a structured way, which can really help you build your confidence, because you know you have thought through kind of questions that your leadership might ask. You'll thought through some challenges. We've thought through kind of the why of this product. And I think the more you kind of have that base and you have those thoughts kind of gathered and structured, it'll help you feel a lot more confident in communicating those. And so I think that module in particular will really help you with your confidence as a product manager and communicating your ideas.
Thank you so much, Anna. So I just wanted to knock out a quick few like logistical questions for you. So how long do those live sessions with faculty, how long do they usually last? Are they about an hour?
Yeah, they're about an hour.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, so the live sessions with the instructors, they're about an hour. So I can knock out that question. And Anna, would this program help someone? We've talked a lot about someone, who's wishing to transition into product management, but say you're like, so on the call today, we have Ahmed on the line with us today. Say you're an experienced product manager and you have more than 9 years of experience. Is this program also built for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's great about this program is kind of it meets you where you are, and it lets you kind of focus on the areas that you want to improve your skills. So Professor Ulrich has a ton of great material here. And if there's modules that you feel very confident with, you can focus, kind of spend your time focusing on those skills that you really want to strengthen and you want to develop. And I think the awareness and the frameworks here, I mean, if you've been here for 9 years, you have your own kind of frameworks and methodologies, and kind of looking at what you've been found that's been useful in your own career and what the professor kind of proposes as frameworks that he finds especially useful and helpful. I think it's always valuable to kind of the number of more frameworks you have and the more experience you have and the more you can spend time kind of solidifying your vocabulary in this space. Will help you at any level of your career. It'll help you communicate. I mean, a lot of these skills we focus on are skills that it's not like you can master them. You tend to keep improving them. You keep growing on them. The more clearly you can communicate your vision, the more practice you have in brainstorming, the more concepts you'll come up with. The practice and experience and getting kind of that perspective from a bunch of different industries from your cohort. I mean, all of it's valuable no matter what level of your career.
So do these modules kind of adapt to the global economy and talking about how some of these principles are different in different countries?
Yeah, I think what's particularly great about the online nature of this program is your cohort really is from around the world. And so the frameworks we discuss are ones that can be applied in a lot of different contexts and a lot of places around the world. And you'll have people from different countries you can kind of bounce ideas around and kind of talk through those experiences and see about that. The other thing is, and I want to make sure I get his title right, Professor Ulrich has a ton of experience traveling. Let's see if I can find the title here. He's actually the advisor on Asia strategy. So, in those live sessions with the professor, you can even ask him questions about how he's implemented his strategies and frameworks around the world. He can bring that global perspective on top of what you'll see from your cohorts. So I'd say absolutely.
Thank you so much, Anna. Yeah, that's something that, we want to emphasize is that for these live sessions, for this back and forth, like we said, they're about an hour long, but the more prepared you are with your questions for faculty during these live sessions, it's all the more enriching for that. So absolutely come prepared to those live faculty webinars. Our students get a lot out of those. Can you talk about what types of qualitative and quantitative analysis that will be done in this course?
Sure. Yeah, I think let's see. I'll start with kind of the qualitative side, and where I'll start kind of with each module, we'll have kind of lots of different kind of mix of skills, quantitative skills and qualitative. I'd say this course focuses a little bit more on the qualitative side. So when you're talking about gathering ideas and looking for those insights, there'll be a lot of frameworks we'll use on kind of how to evaluate insights and kind of come up with ones that are most valuable. There'll be ones about kind of different matrices you can use to kind of identify who's responsible for what in your product management program. On the quantitative side, I'd say that's largely going to be it'll kind of be spread throughout the course, but there'll be a lot in kind of that commercialization module, module 6, which will talk about kind of how to think about when you have a physical product or a service you're offering, what kind of pricing strategies might you want to consider, what kind of real life constraints might you have to take into consideration, like, money that your firm has. Also the agile, actually, I think about the agile module too, has a lot of quantitative considerations when you're talking about how do we bring a product to life and thinking about the development process. So we'll be talking about lots of those that might be familiar if you studied agile. So we'll talk about kind of burn rates and sprint cycles and user stories and kind of thinking about your sprint rate. So I kind of jumped all over the place, but the answer is really that there'll be in any given module kind of have a lot of different mix of skills. Some will be more qualitative, some will be more quantitative, but we kind of hit on the key metrics throughout the course.
And how is this program different from Reforge? Let me try to take a stab at that first, Anna. What I would say is that you are the only person who can assess what is exactly right for the education for what you need right now for your work. So we can tell you all about this program and what you can expect out of this program, what you're going to get out of Wharton, what you're going to get out of Professor Ulrich, what you get out of Anna, and the incredible dynamic supported program that we can offer here. But in terms of other programs, I'm sure they can have some informational webinars as well. And then you are the person who can best evaluate what is best for your education journey and for your professional trajectory. So that's what I'll say about that. I don't want to misrepresent someone else's program or anything like that, but we'll tell you all about this one, and then hopefully we'll see you in the next cohort. That's all I can say about comparing us to other people. And is there anything, do you have any more insight on that?
No, I think that's a great point. And I think this program offers a lot with kind of the experience the professor brings and the experience of learning with your cohort and with your peers. And yeah, I mean, I think this program is great. And I think Mark's right. You'll have to decide for yourself kind of what you're looking for in your program.
Will there be case examples more geared towards an original equipment manufacturer that sells capital equipment B2B? Now, this is very specific, and what it made me think of was, while we don't necessarily have case examples for every potential situation or scenario when it comes to product management strategy, that's what's awesome about this focal product playbook, where you choose a product relevant to your real world experiences and then implement and assess product development strategies and techniques throughout the program, is that all the students in the cohort are doing this. So you're able to bring your own specific needs and your own specific experiences into the program. So Anna, do you have any more insight you can give Jim about, is there a case example that's more like that? Or is the playbook the best example of being able to talk about this in the program?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts. First, and I am very poorly quoting the professor here, but what he likes to say about B2B is when you think about B2B, you still have customers. Your customers may not be an individual person. It might be a business, but there's a purchaser at that business who's buying your product or service, and you still have to think about their needs, and that might be different from the user. So the professor does actually have some examples. I couldn't tell you which module off the top of my head, but does talk through kind of the thought process of what happens when your purchaser is different than your user, which might be applicable to your situation. But I do also think Mark's exactly right. The kind of focal product, I think, is a really cool project throughout the course where you'll be able to kind of apply the frameworks that we're working on in the class and the techniques we're studying to your specific situation. So even if it's a good exercise in taking the frameworks that really apply very broadly and applying them to a specific consideration, which may not be exactly represented in the course. And then finally, I'll pitch again for the office hours and the live sessions with the instructor. They're really great for specific situations like this. If there's a challenge you're facing in this situation, or you're thinking about a particular market or a particular type of product, those live sessions are a really fun time to kind of engage with the professor and get his thoughts on those things as well.
We have case studies and we also have some assignments as well, right, Anna?
Yeah, I guess if I can take a stab at what I think might answer this question is in the modules kind of will present lots of real world examples Mark is talking about. And a lot of your assignments or kind of activities will think about how you might apply the frameworks to those specific cases. So in that way, it's kind of assignments based on cases, if that's a satisfactory answer.
Will we be creating histograms, linear regression, or basic statistics?
So I'd say less on the basic statistics and linear regression. In that last module on commercialization, where we talk about dashboards and KPIs, there might be some kind of histograms in that space if you're thinking about kind of what representations on a dashboard might be most useful for tracking the progress of your product and your strategy. But specifically, the course doesn't necessarily deal with like how to go about doing those. It's more about thinking on your dashboard, what metrics, what representations would be most useful for tracking a product. So I hope that answers that question.
Is there any material about managing sales, creating sales funnels, setting up sales compensation plans?
So I would say probably less so in this particular course. We're focused more on kind of the pre-sales portion, kind of creating that product and managing and developing it, getting it all the way out to market, and then understanding what happens after. So the way we most would think about sales is in that commercialization module, thinking about, what do maybe your sales is kind of a metric that's important to your product to understand how successful it is and what might need to be improved, or thinking about kind of the ongoing life cycle of your product. Maybe in that way, but I'd say it's probably less a focus on kind of that sales portion than perhaps other courses.
Tell us a little bit more about the focal product project, how detailed it will be, how it will be evaluated. Can it be fully theoretical, as some of us can't share much information about the products that we work in real life?
So throughout the course, it's not like this one giant chunk of an activity that we'll throw at you. Each module, you'll actually be building out that playbook. So in the first module, you'll think about what product you want to evaluate. And then each module after that will be about kind of chipping away at this playbook. So by the end of the course, you have this kind of takeaway of this playbook that has your kind of frameworks as applied to this focal product that's been built over time. How detailed will it be? Largely, that's somewhat, user dependent. Depends a little bit on kind of where your idea is and what your product is. But kind of each activity will be kind of what you put into it, will be the detail level. Can it be fully theoretical? Absolutely. I think the professor kind of has a suggested kind of hierarchy of how to go about picking your focal product. And so, the best kind of what's probably most useful for you is if there's a product, either an idea you have, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're at a firm, an idea you have for a product your firm is offering or planning to offer, or one kind of an internal tool that you think would be helpful, something that would really impact your own daily experience is one that you can speak to and answer these kind of questions on. If you can't share much about what your firm is actually working on, absolutely can do a product, for an idea you have in your own life, or you can pick a product you have a lot of experience using as a user and think about how you would go about improving and developing it as if you were the designer. There's lots of options. You don't have to choose one that you're working on if that's not an option given your work.
Thank you so much, Anna. And yes, Juan, obviously you're never going to be asked to hand over proprietary information of any kind. That's why we talk about choose a product that's relevant to your real world circumstances. So say you're in charge of building the Android. We're not going to ask you to turn off the specs to an Android, but you can make your focal product playbook about an iPhone. same sphere, same sector, but just make it up for something else so that you're not giving away any proprietary information. Absolutely, Juan.
And I just saw there was one last, sorry to cut in, there was one last part of that question I didn't answer, which is how will it be evaluated? Like I said, kind of the project will be kind of done in chunks. And so each piece, as you kind of chip away at it, will be kind of its own separate activity. So it's not like one big evaluation on this whole product.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. But we have another question about how does the professor define product, market, or fit? It seems like everyone has their own definition and metric.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a cop-out answer here and say, and kind of focus on the second part of that question, which is that everyone has their own definition metric. I think what you'll find with this professor and this course is he does a great job of thinking kind of, recognizing that each firm and each individual and different industries are all going to have their own terminology and definitions and focus areas. So the vocabulary we use in this course is one that broadly applies to all of them, and he'll define product, market, and fit, and he does it way better than I will, so I'll leave it to him. But I think what you'll find is that he's very realistic about kind of recognizing that the roles and definitions and terms change. And so he's very good about kind of introducing, how different industries or different people might be thinking about the same products, and making sure that it makes sure that you recognize kind of where there's synonyms between different industries. So I think kind of the own definition and metric is kind of unavoidable, but what this professor does is really great at helping you kind of demystify what different industries might be using for their own metrics.
So Anna, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our future students before I let everybody go?
Yeah, I think, this opportunity to learn from Professor Ulrich and to work on this kind of, like you said, bite-sized learning, and this time when, as Dean James said, the world is kind of increasingly challenging and changing. The skills that this course teaches throughout the 6 modules are really applicable no matter your stage of career, no matter your industry, no matter your current role. And so I really encourage anyone who joined this call or is interested in this class to really consider taking it, and these skills will be incredibly valuable no matter where you find yourself right now. And I hope to see you all in the next cohort.
Thank you so much, Anna. So with that, friends, program support is putting that link back up in the chat box that you can click on to join the next cohort of product management and strategy frameworks for success offered through the Wharton School. I want to thank Anna Fountain so much for her time and expertise today. Anna, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much. It was great to be here.
And friends, if you have any additional questions, you can send them at any time to wharton@emeritus.org. Again, that is wharton@emeritus.org. And finally, I want to thank all of you for being here with us today. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time and joining us today for this overview webinar. It was such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. We hope to see you in the class. We hope to see you in the next cohort. But until then, we hope that you all have a beautiful day. Thank you so much all for being here, and have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye-bye now.